Okay, I think we're ready now. Welcome everyone to the March 12th, 2025 Placer Conservation Authority meeting. We are going to start with a flag salute, led by Director Gore.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Bonnie Gore.
Here.
John Reedy.
Here.
Shanti Landon.
Here. Thank you. And we will move to item number 4, consent. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Right, anyone in the public? Okay, then do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll move to item 5, public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment to anything not on the agenda? Okay. Great, thank you. Moving to item 6A, Moyer West grant agreement with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Good morning, Chair and board members. I'm Sadie Caldas, Senior Conservation Planner for the PCA, and I'm glad to present this item today. We have a couple slides. There we go. Just to give a little bit of background about this property, it's just northwest of the city of Roseville. You could see on the map to the right, there's a lot of existing conservation land around it. And then see if I could get this pointer. There we go. This Moyer East property is already in the PCCP reserve system that was added in 2023. And then the next item on the agenda is the Clementson property, and that is located right here, so also next to the Moyer West property.
And sorry, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Can you tell me what's between the Moyer East and the if you go back to that slide, between Moyer East and Reason Farms?
This so I believe this is privately owned, a privately owned parcel.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the pointer is giving me a little bit of a hard time.
That's okay.
But it's privately owned, and so it's just not under conservation at this time.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this property was historically used for rice farming, and it's been just sitting without being farmed for quite some time now, and there's a lot of aquatic resources that have developed on the property. There's a bunch of wetlands and vernal pools, and then Pleasant Grove Creek runs along the southern property line. So there's about 10 acres of Pleasant Grove Creek. And this may look familiar. This is a property that we brought to the PCA board last year. Last July, the PCA board approved a purchase and sell agreement for the property and a resolution authorizing a grant agreement with the Wildlife Conservation Board and a use of funds agreement between the PCA and the county. And we've been working with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Wildlife Conservation Board to process a grant for this property. There's a change in process. Originally, we were going to receive the grant from the Wildlife Conservation Board. Now we're going to be receiving it from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So this item is being brought back to you today because we need a new resolution that is now to authorize a grant agreement with CDFW instead of WCB. So that's why this item is back. We also, in the last resolution last year, we had a projected grant amount of $3,223,699. The purchase price of the property is $3,265,000. So it was just about $41,000 short of the full purchase price. The prior resolution said up to the full purchase price in case more funds became available. We found out that no more funding is available, so that projected amount is what we will receive for the grant. So this resolution has the exact dollar amount this time. With that, I'll go ahead and read the actions requested. So the actions requested are to adopt a resolution approving and authorizing a grant agreement with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in an amount of $3,223,699 for purposes of acquiring the Moyer West property totaling approximately 264 acres, and authorizing the executive director to take all actions necessary to carry out the grant agreement subject to Placer Conservation Authority Council's concurrence, and determine the proposed action is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines sections 15308 and 15313. And I'm glad to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Sadie? No. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes.
Hi, my name's John Norman. I'm with Brookfield Properties Residential, Brookfield Residential Properties. Boy, I better get that right. I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with staff over many, many years. Greg and Teresa and the rest of the gang over here. It has not been a simple process. We've controlled these properties. There's going to be another property, this property, for over 20 years in order to support our development. And it's been painful at times, going through a recession and trying to maintain the ability to do what we're doing today in terms of handing that over into the overall HCP matrix. So we're here to support that, and thank you very much for your time. And any questions, let me know.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the item.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. All right, thank you. Moving to item 6B, Amoruso Ranch, Clementson Property Dedication of Land in lieu of Mitigation Fees Agreement.
Is power one out?
Good morning, Board. Jeremy Sutter, Real Estate Services Manager for the PCA. I'm here for the Amoruso dedication of Clementson for it's a dedication of land in lieu of fee proposal. As Sadie mentioned, we've done several land transactions with Brookfield already up here. We have Moyer East, which was the first one, which was purchased with land conversion fees, PCA fees. Moyer West is now moving forward, and we're looking to close that one with grant funding. And now up is Clementson property. This is also Brookfield, and this is another dedication of land in lieu of fee. And so the way that works, we've done it before with Amoruso in the first phase of Amoruso, where they dedicated some preservation land, on-site preservation land, for dedication credits. So they will get credits towards their land conversion fee, but it's the land acquisition portion of their land conversion fee. They will still be paying the remainder of the rest of the land conversion fee, which accounts for operation and maintenance, endowment, things of that nature. So with Clementson, and I think, so here's the property. The north side of the creek is really where most of the wetlands are. Currently, there's a total of about 11.287 acres of wetlands, broken down into 1.5 acres of seasonal wetlands, 0.9 acres of seasonal swales, and 8.7 acres of vernal pools. South of the creek, there's currently not a lot of wetlands per se, but there's still a lot of land that's worth preserving that accounts for the habitat that we're looking to conserve. So the entire property is valuable for the reserve system, and this also represents some potential down the road perhaps to do some restoration, and we'll be looking into that. But right now the intent is to take the whole property into the reserve system. The deal in front, the transaction in front of you is to do a dedication of land in lieu of fee deal for roughly, the property is 235.7 acres of land, and it's being valued at $13,500 per acre for a total purchase price of $3,105,000. And that is going to be land dedication credits, which they'll be used to offset their land acquisition portion of their land conversion fees for Amoruso. And that's phases 2 and 3. It's possible that that's more credit than they will need for those phases, and part of this, the structure of this deal is that they'll be able to use that on other covered activities later on, or sell them off for or convert them to somebody else. But that's something they'll have to run through the PCA and get approval to do that. But that is the intent. Also, just as a point of reference, the $13,500 per acre is consistent with what we have purchased other land in this, in this area, like Moyer West. We are in a purchase and sale agreement for $12,367 per acre, and Moyer East we purchased for $14,090 an acre. So we feel that this is the appropriate price, and are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
So when you were talking about potential mitigation work, is that only on the north part or some?
No. Right now, the thought is the whole land will be for preservation.
Right.
Right now, we don't have any plans, but we will be, anytime we have property like this, we'll be investigating if there's a possibility. We just need to do more. There might be potential for restoration. If there is, then we would come back later at another time and do that.
So we don't know for sure if there is.
We don't know for sure, but the way it stands now, it's going to go into the reserve system for preserved land, and that's the value that we're setting it at, and that's what we're taking it in for. But there is some potential upside down the road if it works out.
Okay.
And maybe to follow up on that, Jeremy, just to clarify, so if another landowner has to pay mitigation fees, perhaps those fees could then go in to do some restoration if we had areas that needed to be restored, right?
Correct. So the way that the fees work basically is that the land conversion fees are what we utilize to acquire land, and then the special habitat fees when people, impact vernal pools and that sort of thing, stream system, those fees go to restoring acreage that we've bought. So those fees are not the special habitat fees don't really have a land value associated with them. They're just the creation of habitat.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. Jeremy, if you have it in front of you, could you read the actions requested into
Yeah.
the record?
Oh,
If you
yes,
don't,
sorry.
I can
Yes, I do. I mean, sorry. Yes, so the actions requested: 1, adopt a resolution approving a dedication of land in lieu of fee of mitigation fees agreement between the Placer Conservation Authority and Brookfield California Land Holdings, LLC, for the Amoruso Ranch project to mitigate impacts through a combination of payment of Placer County Conservation Program fees and dedication of land in substantial conformance with the attached draft documents, subject to Placer Conservation Authority Council's concurrence. Authorize staff to take all necessary actions to finalize these transactions, and authorize the board chair to execute the final documents. And 2, determine the proposed action is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act guidelines sections 15308 and 15313.
Thank you for reading that into the record. Any comments from the public?
John Norman with Brookfield again. Same story as last time, except I wanted to go out of my way to thank Jeremy on all of these transactions, really. It's been back and forth, quite a few discussions, working through some special issues over here, and he stayed with it, and that's why we're here today. So thank you to staff.
Thank you.
Again, any questions, let me know.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed and no abstentions? Thank you very much, Jeremy. Moving to item 6C, the ranch land in lieu of mitigation fees agreement. Welcome back.
Hello again, Board. Jeremy Sutter, Real Estate Services Manager for PCA. This item is the ranch land in lieu of fee mitigation fees agreement. I will read into the record what the actions requested is to adopt a resolution approving a dedication of land in lieu fee of mitigation fees agreement between the Placer Conservation Authority and WP Vineyard LLC for the ranch project to mitigate impacts through combination of payment of Placer County Conservation Program fees and dedication of land in substantial conformance with the attached draft documents, subject to Placer Conservation Authority Council's concurrence. Authorize staff to take all necessary actions to finalize these transactions and authorize the board chair to execute the final documents. And 2, determine the proposed action is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines Section 15308 and 15313. This land in lieu of fee transaction is a little bit different nature than the past one. This one is part of an actual project, an open space within the project. This is where the ranch has come before the Board of Supervisors for approval, and is just north of Creekview, which is important because the land that's being dedicated abuts the Creekview open space. And so what's before you today is not the project as much as just whether or not we want to take the open space that's been set aside into our reserve system. And so this is different in the sense that, there we go. Here is the overall project. The overall project, as you may know, is 221 acres, 0.7 acres, with roughly 446 residential lots. And throughout this project, they've set aside open space along the stream system. We have Dry Creek running along the south, and then some of the tributaries go up and through the project. The tributaries and open space have been set aside. The total acreage of open space to avoid stream system is about 50 acres. However, what we're talking about is just the south portion that is south of the residential lots which run along Dry Creek. That area is roughly 27.4 acres of open space, and which combines with the southern portion that we're already in contract with on the Creekview project to be dedicated another roughly 27 acres of land for a total of 54 acres of potential open space that would be added into the reserve system. The Dry Creek area has been targeted as one of the important areas of preservation for the reserve system. However, in a situation like this where it's part of a project and it's a little bit smaller than, let's say, like Clementson was, which is substantial acreage kind of set aside as preservation, the way we set the value for this is really it's the value of the property is the land acquisition portion of the land conversion fee. And that's why in the staff report, it's referenced that the value of the acreage will be $9,126 per acre, which is the anticipated land acquisition portion of the land conversion fee when this will go into contract. That fee will also, if you read in the agreement, that fee will also adjust as the fees adjust, so that if we go into contract and if they get the credits or they pay the fees in the future and those land acquisition fees adjust, their credit will adjust with it so that they won't lose or gain any value. That way, the deal we make today is the deal that is done. So of the 27.4 acres though, you can see on the slide, the green is the acreage that we consider creditable. The other acreage has easements on it and things of that nature, so they're not getting credit for that. So they're going to get a credit of 25.1 acres of creditable acreage. So that times the estimated value of $9,126 is what gives us the total fee, the total creditable amount, which is $229,062 of credits that they can use towards, again, their land acquisition portion of their land conversion fees. So when they do the project, they still have to pay their other fees. So with that, are there any questions?
Any questions for Jeremy? I have one quick question. So when the trail gets constructed, will they have to pay
Which trail?
the one where it says best fit for a trail crossing?
Okay, yes.
On the bottom. Will they have to pay fees? When that trail gets constructed, will they have to pay impact fees, I guess, for that?
They won't, because they wouldn't be constructing it.
I just mean whoever constructs the
Yes.
trail. If it's the county constructing it, will we need to pay
Yes,
impact fees then
yes.
for that? Okay.
Yes, in addition to this, one other thing is the way we do these also is that we're only taking a conservation easement on this property. We will work out with the landowners that they will need to make sure that whoever's owning fee title for this, they're still going to be responsible for the general maintenance of the property, whether that, if they're going to put it in the HOA or with the county or whomever, it needs to be an entity that will take care of it, the general maintenance of it. That's just how we're doing these. And so we still have work to do on that end, just to work through those issues, but we will take the conservation easement, put it in the reserve system, and be responsible for the maintenance as it relates to the reserve system, but the overall general maintenance will be responsible for the underlying fee title holder.
Okay, just a follow-up question to that then. What happens if they don't do what they're supposed to do in order to?
To maintain it?
Yeah.
Well, as the conservation easement holder, then we would try to force them to take the proper steps to do that.
There's something in the contract or
There'll
something,
be
I'm
something in
assuming?
the,
Okay.
yeah, the conservation easement, there'll be remedies in the conservation easement to enforce the conservation easement and how it's maintained and that sort of thing. And the conservation easement will have all the restrictions, and this is going to be the standard, the template conservation easement that we use that's approved by all the agencies for all of our reserve system lands.
Okay, great, thank you. Any comments from the public? All right, do I have a motion?
Before we do a
Yes.
motion, I just want to clarify. So I didn't vote for this item before the Board of Supervisors, but this is a separate action. So this actually allows, now that this has already gone forward and that's not being changed, this actually allows us to preserve this area of space under the PCA. And so I am supportive of that, because now we actually have additional land for the trail, the Dry Creek Trail out there, which is a huge benefit to our community. So I will move approval, but I just wanted to clarify that. I know there were residents who were really concerned about that in my area, and they're two separate actions.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And no abstentions. Thanks, Jeremy. Okay, we'll move to item 6D, fiscal year 25-26, Placer County Conservation Program Development Fees Annual Inflation Adjustment.
Thank you, Sadie Caldas, Senior Conservation Planner. And I will go ahead and read the actions requested. So the first is to accept staff's recommendation for the annual adjustment of the Placer County Conservation Program fiscal year 2025-26 development fees, and direct staff to forward the recommendation to the City of Lincoln and County of Placer for consideration and adoption by the respective legislative bodies. And two, determine the proposed action is not a project pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, section 15378A, 15378B4, and 15378B5. And to provide a little bit of background, we have to annually calculate adjustments to PCCP fees based on the guidance guidelines, in the plan. And this is to ensure that the revenues from the fees keep up with the inflation on plan costs. If this is approved, this would be the 5th annual adjustment to the PCCP development fees. The recommended adjustment for fiscal year 25-26 is to increase the land conversion fee and the open space and fire hazard management fee by 1.19%. A portion of these fees go to land acquisitions. So there's two different indexes that are used to do these calculations for those fees. It's a land value index and then also a consumer price index. And so that's what makes up that 1.19% increase. And then this item is also has a recommended adjustment to the special habitat fee schedule, and that is for an increase of 2.81%. And the special habitat fees do not pay for land acquisitions, so we don't use that land acquisition, or excuse me, land value index in that calculation. We only use the consumer price index, and that's why the percentages are different between those fee schedules. So if these recommendations are accepted, staff will forward them on to Placer County and the City of Lincoln for potential adoption. And Jeremy and I both worked on this, and so we're glad to answer questions.
Great, thank you, Sadie. Any questions? All right, anyone in the public? Okay, then do I have a motion?
So moved.
And I'll second, even though these are one of those things
I
that I
know.
hate approving, but we have to. So I'm seconding it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed and no abstentions? All right, well, I guess before we adjourn, anything that either board member needs to address or bring up? Okay, then I will go ahead and say we are adjourned to our next regular board meeting on May 28th, 2025. Thank you.